I'm Gail and I'm part of the children's ministry team at St Mark's. At St Mark's this season, we are currently looking at the topic of prayer and how we can communicate with God. So as families, how can we connect with God and how can we help our children develop those lifelong habits of prayer? How can we help them to see that prayer is pretty much the most important thing that they do in their life? Pete Greek has written some great resources on prayer, and at St Mark's we're using some of those resources on a Sunday morning in our sermon series, and we're using them with our small groups in midweeks looking at those videos. He's also got some great resources for families. This one's called How to Pray, a Guide for Young Explorers. It's a great resource for families to look at together, or if you've got older kids, for them to access themselves. This page says, prayer is like hanging out with the most famous and powerful person that ever lived. It's got some great cartoons and things that make it really accessible for kids in there. So I'd encourage you to have a look at that together. In our Monday Mums small group, we've been looking at the resources from Parenting for Faith. They've got a great website, a great podcast, social media things. They're helping parents to raise God-connected kids. And in those videos, Rachel Turner talks about chatting and catching from God. So how can we help our kids chat with God? How can we help them develop that relationship? Well, it's really just like talking with a friend. I know we've been reminded to keep it simple. And what could be more simple than chatting? It's not about formulas or special words or tools or rules or saying just the right thing. It's just about chatting. So if we can encourage our kids to bring all of their emotions to God, when they're sad about something, when they need to cry with God or laugh with God, that bringing our everyday lives and really encouraging them to bring the small things of life, to really build that relationship, to help them have that connection. So if we can give them some of those skills and the space to do that, it'll really equip them for the rest of their lives. In Toddler Praise, we remind the kids each week that they can chat to God whenever they want. They can chat in the bath, they can chat in the car, when they're in their beds, just when they're playing, that they can always communicate with God. And what a great foundation, and something really important that they remember that. One of the best ways that kids learn is by modelling, which can be a bit tricky if we have to try it out loud, for them to hear what our prayer life might look like. Whether it's just them overhearing us as we're thanking God for something, or whether we're in the car, or whether an ambulance has just driven past, whatever might naturally be in our heads anyway, if we can just verbalise that, then they can hear that and see that, and they'll model that and know what it looks like. Also, we can encourage them to have a topic that they might want to go and chat to God about. Maybe something has happened at school, maybe they just want to tell God what their day was like. Maybe they want to talk to God about a friendship issue that they're having. They don't need to tell us as their parents all the time before they tell God, really encouraging them to go and chat and tell God all about that first, so that we don't have to be the in-between person, but they can build their relationship with God independently. With little kids, they might find it a little bit hard to internalise it and chat in their heads. Everything blurts out. So at Toddler Praise, we encourage them to whisper behind their hands, to whisper to God, maybe give them a topic and say, why don't you go and have a chat with God about that? And just to whisper behind their hands. So that helps them to verbalise it and they don't have to internalise it in their heads all the time. Another helpful tool for our kids is for them to maybe have a little window into what our own prayer life is like. We don't have to be perfect, we just have to be real, and they can see what it's like, the struggles, just how we're attempting to live life with God. I realised by the time my kids got to be about 9 that they actually didn't know that I had a prayer life and that I tried to have a quiet time during the week because it was when they weren't around, because I wanted it to be quiet. So I just giving them little windows into what I was doing, maybe leaving the door open or leaving my Bible out on the side, or just saying, oh, well, I prayed about this today when I was chatting with God, or I read this in my Bible today. Just gives them windows into what we're doing in our lives so that they know what a real relationship with God is all about. We'd love to hear about how your children are exploring prayer and how they're learning to chat with God. We pray that God will bless your families. We pray He'll help our kids to flourish and that chatting to God will just become a natural part of their lives as they continue to grow.